December 2nd, 2010, the bid to host the 2022 FIFA World Cup was going on.
The winner to organize the 2022 FIFA World Cup is Qatar.
Qatar had won the bid, beating out other bidders including the United States, South Korea, Japan and Australia. It was an announcement that shocked the entire football world. The worst and most hated World Cup ever. The World Cup of shame, built on slavery. $220 billion spent, 6,500 deaths. The Qatar World Cup 2022. But how did Qatar, a country with no history of competing in the World Cup, a country with no proper football culture, and a country with no infrastructure to host the biggest football tournament on the planet, win the bid out of all these countries? Qatar is this small country with a population of just under 3 million, out of which only 100,000 to 300,000 are said to be the real Qatari citizens, and the rest 2.7 million of the population is immigrants from other countries. If they were to host the World Cup, they had to start from the scratch. As a result, they had to build 7 new world-class stadiums to host the Qatar World Cup. Other infrastructure facilities like airports, the metro network, highways, public bus service and hotels for fans to stay during the World Cup. All of this had to be built in a few years. When compared to all the previous World Cups in the history, Qatar spent a whopping $220 billion to build all these infrastructures from the ground up just for this World Cup. But what else did Qatar buy dishonestly with their money? The World Cup itself. After Qatar won the bid, allegations were made that Qatar bribed and influenced nearly 14 of the 24 members of FIFA's executive committee who were responsible for voting. According to various reports, a Qatari official offered more than $6 million to African voters in order to secure the hosting rights for the 2022 World Cup. And from the documents obtained by the Sunday Times, Qatari state-run television channel Al Jazeera secretly offered FIFA a $400 million just 21 days before FIFA announced Qatar would host the 2022 World Cup. The contract also documented a secret TV deal between FIFA and Al Jazeera, under which $100 million will be paid to a designated FIFA account only if Qatar wins the 2010 World Cup ballot. An additional $480 million was also offered by the state of Qatar government 3 years after the initial offer, which brings the total to $880 million offered by the Qatar to host the 2022 World Cup. But there is something that the Qatari government doesn't want the outside world to know. What are they? Let's find out. What's going on, babes? You got my name. It's Akhil Mohanan. Welcome to Date. Qatar had immense wealth. Qatar has influence over other countries, but there was one thing they didn't have: human resources. To build these massive stadiums, airports, metros, highways and all, they needed hundreds of thousands of laborers. So they recruited thousands of workers from countries like Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, Nepal and Philippines. Qatar's government says that 30,000 foreign laborers were hired just to build the stadiums. But the exploitation of these migrant workers has become one of the biggest accusations against Qatar. Ever since Qatar won the rights to host the World Cup in 2010, human rights groups have criticized Qatar's treatment of foreign workers.
Controversies from human rights concerns to onerous press restrictions have shadowed the event. To host the Cup, the tiny Gulf nation went on a stadium building spree, bringing in thousands upon thousands of migrant laborers. But there have been numerous stories about the largely South Asian workforce being mistreated.
In 2016, Amnesty International accused Qatari companies of using forced labor. They reported many workers were forced to pay huge recruitment fees and had their wages underpaid or withheld, as well as their passport confiscated.
लाइटर बाड़ी गैस खोले रोल पोल छु धूप में छत के ऊपर माथी ते काम करे थे 7 बरस ते काम करे 1200-1300 के सैलरी 7 बरस को बोनस
These workers were exploited and subjected to inhumane, unhealthy and dangerous working conditions, and in some cases preventing them from leaving their jobs. Another major accusation against Qatar is that many companies in the country use the kafala system to exploit these migrant workers. The kafala system is one in which a migrant worker needs a local guy from Qatar to be responsible for his visa and legal status in the country. This guy from Qatar will be the migrant worker's sponsor. As soon as you enter the country, the migrant worker's passport is handed over to the sponsor. This gives the sponsor complete control over the migrant worker. This sponsor must approve the migrant worker's request to change jobs, terminate employment, or enter or exit the host country. Otherwise, you will be stuck with the sponsor until he decides to change his mind. Leaving the workplace without permission is an offense that can result in workers' legal status being terminated, as well as imprisonment or deportation, even if the worker is fleeing due to abuse by the sponsor. In the summer, temperatures in Qatar can reach 50 degrees Celsius, but these migrant workers were forced to work in these extreme temperatures for years.
कंपनी में काम दियो लेबर को ईटा पत्थर उठाने को 50 केजी 60 केजी बोरी में रमल कसेर यो उठ्न सक्दैन तल बैठेपछि उठ्न सक्दैन खरा पनि हुन सक्दैन तल झरेपछि तलैमा बैठेर हाल्छ बोरीमा रमल कसेर यो टाउकोमा लिएर माथि जाने ऊपर जाने तर लिएर खटाउने काम करायो पैसा पनि दिएन.
As a result, several deaths from heart attacks, respiratory failure, heat stroke and accidents happened during working hours. An investigative report published in February 2021 by The Guardian to estimate the death toll of 6,500 migrant workers since Qatar won the bid to host the World Cup. Another thing that football fans truly hate about Qatar World Cup is its timing. As Qatar is one of the world's hottest countries, the climate has not only affected migrant workers but will also have an impact on the players' performance during matches. The World Cup is always held in June and July during Europe's off-season. During this time, the average daytime high temperature in most of Qatar exceeds 40 degrees Celsius, with average daily low temperatures remaining about 30 degrees Celsius. That is why for the first time in recent history, the World Cup is being held in the winter season. The main issue is not just the weather. This World Cup is taking place in the midst of the world's top football leagues, including the UEFA Champions League, the Premier League in England, La Liga in Spain, Ligue 1 in France, and Serie A in Italy. All of these major leagues had to hold their matches in order for the World Cup to take place. The injuries to football's biggest stars just before the World Cup are the most frustrating and heartbreaking things for the football community. Many football leagues and teams still had their players participate in league matches. All of the players were exposed to a significant risk of injury, and they didn't even have the time to heal and recover from the injuries. A single injury to any player can cause a great deal of pain and disappointment for an entire nation as well as for the injured player. According to various reports, players like Sadio Mane of Senegal, Christopher Nkunku of France, Marco Reus and Timo Werner of Germany, and many others will not be able to play in the World Cup due to injuries sustained during the season. As a host of the world's most prestigious football tournament, Qatar should make sure that the visitors are happy. However, as a Muslim country, Qatar has some strict laws that have gotten a lot of criticism from the visitors and from people around the world. In Qatar, homosexuality is illegal and is punishable by up to 7 years in prison and a fine.
I arrived at the stadium last night for the US game wearing the shirt that you just showed with a rainbow around a soccer ball supporting LGBTQ issues, and immediately was not allowed in by security officials who told me it was because of my shirt. They demanded I take the shirt off. I refused. They then, right after I got a tweet off, forcibly took my cell phone and kept it for 30 minutes. I repeatedly kept asking to get it back. They wouldn't give it to me. They made me stand in front of a CCTV camera, presumably with someone on the other other end of it rendering some sort of judgment.
Despite the fact that Qatar's World Cup organizers have stated that everyone is welcome, the chief executive Nasser Al Qatar has stated that the government will not change its homosexuality laws and has asked visitors to respect their culture. Public displays of affection are also strictly forbidden under Qatari law. Just 2 days before the tournament's opening match, Qatar announced a ban on the sale of alcohol in World Cup stadiums. Alcohol is only permitted in areas where the government has allowed it, even though they had 12 years to plan this World Cup. These last-minute changes are really frustrating for a large number of football fans. Female fans must ensure that they do not violate the stadium's dress code by wearing revealing clothing. As per FIFA, fans have the freedom to wear clothes of their choice, but also have to respect the country's laws and ensure their body parts are not exposed. Men and women are encouraged to cover their shoulders and knees in public places, according to the Qatari tourism website. The Qatar World Cup is expected to attract more than 1 million visitors. Even though with months remaining, Qatar only had 30,000 hotel rooms, of which 80% had already been reserved by FIFA for football teams, officials and sponsors. In order to increase the accommodation options, the organizers were offering shared rooms in empty apartments, villas, fan villages and traditional tents in the desert. The budget accommodation that the Qatari government provides costs around $203 per night, but it is just converted shipping containers with portable air conditioners with deafening noise coming from nearby generators. Many fans are disappointed by the poor accommodation service and extremely high pricing, and they believe that paying $203 per night for a shipping container is not worth the money. Several FIFA members including Theo Schweinsteiger and FIFA ex-president Sepp Blatter have publicly stated that awarding the tournament to Qatar was a mistake. A large number of football fans and organizations from around the world have decided to boycott the tournament. Last year, a grassroots campaign in Norway led to several of the country's biggest clubs openly asking people not to attend the World Cup. Fans in Germany's Bundesliga have raised banners and displayed tifos advocating a boycott. The combination of all these allegations and controversies makes the 2020 Qatar World Cup the most hated World Cup in football history. Do you know the tragic story of this famous YouTuber Tanmay Bhatt who lost all of his reputation and fell into depression? Click here to watch the video.